Eyes.
Have you ever read something on social media platforms?
Hello and good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I hope we are all good. It's good to have everybody on. I hope everybody's doing and everybody's ready for class today. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Tosin, Helen. I can see everybody is getting into class. We're going to give everybody maybe another 3 minutes to make sure that everybody is ready for class. Can everybody see me? Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? I hope everybody is ready to learn. Everybody's raring and ready to go because I'm ready for you guys today. Yes, I'm just giving everybody a moment. Come in. Make sure you're ready. Get seated. Get ready because it's about to go down. Hi, good evening. Good evening, everybody. I hope, like I said, I hope you guys are ready for today's class because today is going to be another big and important one. Okay, everybody can see and hear me. That's good. That is good. So before we start, let me just quickly ask everybody, how was your day? How was everything you're doing? I am using this time just to make sure that everybody is getting ready before we start. This is week 2 of our content and copywriting class. We are covering the fundamentals of writing or writing fundamentals. Light is very much shining on my head today. This light. Don't mind me, I'm adjusting my lights just to make sure that it's not totally kind of gleaming on me. Yeah, this is better. Okay. Before we start, I think it's important we do a quick revision to make sure that this is better today. To make sure that everybody was clear on what we did last night. Good evening. Has everybody make sure? Good. All right. So let us begin. We're about to begin. Yeah, that's good. Good that everybody's having a good day. It's good to see. Nice to see you guys again. What am I saying today? Okay, and before we get started, I'd like to just do a quick recap of what we learned yesterday. It's always important that we remember what we've learned. I hope everybody, understood what was going on in our last class before we dig into the next one. What we're learning today, let me just let you guys in on it. What we're learning today, we are talking about grammar, punctuation, and writing tone. So your writing tone, your tone of writing, what that entails. Talk about grammar and punctuation. Then there's a little something extra that I'll put in for you guys. Remember, 8 o'clock, we're going to take a break and we're going to share attendance. So make sure that by 8 o'clock, you guys are all set so that everybody can take their attendance. Okay, so let's quickly go over what we talked about. Let's go over what we talked about last week before we move on. We'll just quickly glance through what we talked about and then start up with what we're doing today. So yesterday we talked about writing style. We talked about what a writing style is, and I explained that it is something very intangible. It's not something that is easily describable, but it is there because it allows everybody it's what differentiates every writer. Every writer has their own style, the way they attack a theme, the way they attack a problem, the way they attack a program, the way they attack something. Every writer has the way they will put their writing and their themes together. So, like I had said, writing is ineffable. It's hard to define, but we can understand that it is something that separates every writer. A writing style is what makes you know that you might not know the author, but you're able to read the work and say, oh, this is Chimamanda. They won't tell you who it is, but they'll be like, oh, this is Yvonne Orji, this is Chinua Achebe. These are what separates every writer. Your style, what you incorporate, your personality. That's really what your style as a writer is your ability to, show your own personality. I remember giving a quote that when you read a book, you go there to know about the author. But by the time you finish, you've learned more about who the person is. More than just as an author, you've learned about who they are. So, okay. So, like I said, as a writer, it's important that you're able to show your style. It's your thumbprint. I like that. I can see that some people were following along. So we did a kind of, I tried to open your minds and we did a quick discussion on things fall apart and purple hibiscus. And we tried to share and pass, let me use the word pass, and go through their works and try to see where there were similarities and where there were differences in the work, because they in the end still talked about the same themes of colonialism. But they tried to figure out, yes, I like that, you should not try to impress your audience. Yes, we try to figure out where their style comes from, because two authors can talk about very similar things. It's like in romance novels, everybody can talk about different. When you're writing a romance novel, talk about mostly the same things: love between two people, sometimes love between three people, there's a love triangle, those same things. But what keeps everybody interested in what they're writing is, how they use their words, what they place different sentences, the style of the writer. Some writers are very heavy-handed in how they talk about love and other things associated with love. And then there are some writers that are more prosaic about it. They leave a lot to the imagination. So that's a kind of writing style there. And then, we went into the nitty gritty of it. We explained what are the elements of writing are. So we talked about word choice, syntax, economy, concision, context and purpose. So that was the broad strokes of what we talked about last week. I hope everybody was able to follow along. Just simple yes, no, because we're now about to get into the main part of today's lesson. Okay. So for those of you that are new here, my name is Oladipo Lawson. I am one of your facilitators for the content and copywriting class. To this week, we're covering writing fundamentals. And today, day 2, we are covering, let's see, for day 2, all right, so for day 2, we are covering grammar and punctuation. So in the first, we're covering writing tone, grammar and punctuation, and some other small things added here and there. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about the different tones that we use in writing. So I know I've explained context and purpose, word choice, syntax. All of those are the things that, create the overall style of writing. But you also have a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts for when you're writing. I can see some people bringing up some questions. Please make sure to put your questions in the comment section, and I will make sure to get to them when we're done. We have a question and answer session again at the end of the class. So make sure you write down all of your questions, right? So I just want everybody to follow along. Just focus, because today's class is going to be coming back to back. All right, so like I said, in this class, we'll be talking about writing tone. In this section, you will learn and understand what a writing tone is, the different types of tones we have. I'll also leave some research to you guys to look at, figure out what other tones, aside from the ones I provided to you guys, what other tones of writing are there, because there are so many. And what a tone is, essentially, when I say tone, I mean the way the whole work is supposed to be interpreted, the way somebody is supposed to understand what you're writing, the tone, how it's supposed to sound. Then I'll give you some examples of writing tones. Then we'll go into grammar, punctuation. And then at the end, we're going to do a little bit of some little practical work. It's not anything serious. We're just going to talk about a discussion about some of the, I don't want to give it away. We'll get there at the end of the class. All right. Let us begin. I hope everybody's following. We are about to begin. So in today's lesson, we'll be looking at the fundamentals of writing, and we're going to be looking at writing tones, grammar, and punctuation. If you look at the picture, let's just imagine this picture is us. Imagine we're in class now, everybody is seated, see me at the board. Just imagine, just use that as imagination. You people are writers. I believe everybody here is a writer. So as writers, you must have very strong imagination. So just imagine yourselves in the class, and then me at the front of the class. All right, so what is a tone? Now, a tone used in writing refers to the feeling the words invoke in the reader. A written piece might have a positive or uplifting tone, or a tone might feel sad and tense. When you write, your mood at the time might have an impact in the overall tone of the piece. Remember what I was talking about, Don't always let your emotions flow into what you are writing. So you might also use your feelings about the story or situation you are presenting in written communication to reflect the tone and other factors that impact the tone of a piece. So this could include verbs and how you use them and how you use your imagination to tell the story. Sorry. Kind of a weird day today. But like I was saying, so additional factors that impact the tone of a piece of writing include the verbs and the adjectives you use. Remember, adjectives are what you use to describe a place, thing, or something. And then how you use them in combination to tell a story. Let me break this down a little bit though. Let's make sure everybody is following. Right? So, as I was saying, the tone used in writing refers to the feelings the words invoke in the reader. A written piece might have a positive or uplifting tone. It might also have a sad or tense tone. Thank you guys. Thank you. You might have a sad or tense tone. Now, when you write, your mood at the time might have an impact on the overall tone of the piece, which is why, like I said, like if you're writing an uplifting article now, you're trying to encourage people, but you are sad in that moment, you might not correlate. So that was what I was talking about last week, that at times you might have to be able to detach yourself from what you're talking about, remove yourself from the situation, which was why I explained that we should also learn how to write from somebody else's point of view. And I gave a very good example of writing from another point of view as just being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Because if you let your whole emotions, except the article you're writing or the story or the novel or whatever you're writing, calls for the full range of emotions, because there are articles that will carry the reader like a novel. That a novel is a very good example of pieces of content or what you're writing that will take people through the full range of emotions. At times you want them to feel sad, at times you want them to feel happy, but depending on how you want your tone to be, you must be able to, that's why self-understanding is key here. You must be able to understand the feelings you want people to feel. And the only way to get people to feel a certain type of way, remember, like I said, as writers, you must be able to invoke a reaction from your audience. That reaction is what in the end leads to whatever happens. Whether you want to invoke a certain emotion, those reactions, those responses to your work, the tone is all part of it. Let's continue. Tone also refers to the complexity of the writing along with the formality of the words used. A formal piece might reflect a more serious topic, while a light-hearted story might use less formal words and diction. In literature, Tone refers to how the author expresses their attitude throughout their writing. Let's quickly break that down. How you express your attitude towards something is where your tone is going to come from. This is why sometimes you can be reading something and then you just say, there's been a tonal shift. This book we were reading is no longer a child story. It's like everybody knows the story of Hansel and Gretel. So Hansel and Gretel, a brother and sister. It's a child's story. I don't know why I'm always using children's. Children's books are always the easiest way to openly explain something. But anybody that knows the story of Hansel and Gretel, and I'll explain it now. Hansel and Gretel is a story of two siblings. They grew up in poverty, right? And they were very hungry. So one day they went out into the woods to look for food. And upon their scavenge through the woods, they found what I can only describe as a gingerbread house. Now, for anybody that knows the story, knows that it is a witch that is in the house, right? But when they go there, they don't necessarily know that it's a witch. They are hungry. So they go into the house, the witch feeds them, and then somewhere along the line, that story takes a tonal shift. It is no longer just some child nursery rhyme where children are eating the house and the way everything. Before you know it, there's a shift. And that shift is where your style as a writer, your ability as a writer comes in. Your ability to shift the tone. Because while an article might demand you write wholly in a uplifting tone or an assertive tone, and I'll explain what those are, sometimes the article, depending on the context and purpose of the article you're writing, let's use an article as an example, there might be need for a shift. If you're talking about politics now, you are referring to a specific candidate, you're referring to two different candidates, your tone will change for each one, depending on your attitude towards each candidate. Let me repeat that again for those that didn't hear me. If you're writing an article, and we're using politics as an example, if you're writing about two different candidates, right, your tone changes between each one depending on your attitude towards them. So if you like one leader, your attitude towards them will be one that is accommodating, that is open, that likes them. So if you like this person, you will be more open to what they are saying and what they are doing. So when you're writing, we can see that you like this person, even if you are not what's the word I'd like to use now? Even if you're not heavily, even if you're criticizing this candidate you like, we can identify from the way the questions are posed and the way the criticisms are levied that you like this person, you like this candidate. As a writer, I don't have to tell you my feelings towards something. If I've done my job as a writer, you should be able to infer some of my feelings towards this thing. Yeah, let me use a simple example. As a writer, I don't have to tell you that my stance on rape is that rape is wrong, right? But when I'm writing an article about it, the moment you hear some key words in me, or let's use the death penalty, for example. If you're writing about the death penalty now and you say you're not a proponent for the death penalty, you don't have to outrightly say this is what it is. You just can infer. You can say, oh, I feel. You don't have to say it outright. The way you write about it, the way you put levity towards it is what will explain your tone, right? So if we're talking about the death penalty now, if I have a very aggressive tone towards it, the words I use are unquestionable, unbelievable, ungodly, unjust. You can immediately identify, oh, this person has an aggressive feeling towards the death penalty and he does not like it. Now, if I am for it and I'm still questioning the morality of it, but I am for the death penalty, I don't have to say it as well. Words like understanding, in situations, circumstances, those kinds of words, giving leeway for the people who are in charge of it. Do you get me? I hope everybody is following. I hope everybody understands what I'm talking about now. because it's a key thing when we're talking about tone, that you are able to differentiate, you're able to explain how you feel about a certain thing without outrightly saying how you feel, right? That's what the tone is. If you're taking an uplifting tone for something, you want people to be uplifted. You want people to be encouraged from it. So you use words that encourage them, right? Okay, so let's continue. A tone might stay the same throughout a piece, or it might change to reflect a shift in the story or mood. This was what I was talking about. An author might also use different tones in various pieces they write. So as a writer, there are various tones that you will take on different topics and different situations. It is now your ability to let people in on those tones and feelings that will, give them an idea of what they are. How can I put this? We give them an idea of what you're writing. Like I said, when you're writing, you will put your emotions in. Can everybody hear me? I'm seeing the network is fluctuating. If it's your network, I'm guessing it's your network. But like I said, as a writer, you must be able to put your emotions through, but not totally. Because if you're not feeling the right kinds of emotions for what you want to put out, you can do one of two things. Either you can stop. If you're angry and you're supposed to be writing uplifting content that makes people happy, it might not, the words you might choose to use might not fully put it together. So sometimes you might need to clear your head and just put yourself out and then come back. So let's look at the few different type of writing styles. I've done a lot of explanation, and it might still be kind of esoteric. It might be out there. So just let's move to the different types of writing tones, and then you get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So today's lesson, I'm going to give you the 8 examples of different tones in writing. 8 examples of tones in writing, of tone in writing. Now, as we review the meaning of tone in writing, you can also look at various examples of tone to get a better sense of what each might look like in your writing. And they're going to be useful examples along the way. So before we start, let me make sure, is everybody following? Is everybody coming along? Let's make sure that everybody is tying together and understanding. Just yes, no. Have I lost you? If I've lost you, let me find you now. It's in these 8 examples I'll find you. Because like I said, when you explain something, there's a lot of explanation you can give, but at times it's just a lot easier to lead with examples. And then from there, you have a very good understanding of it. All right. Don't mind me. You must keep hydrated. I hope everybody's following, right? All right. Let us continue. So for the different styles and tones in writing, the first tone, and this is the one. So I'm going to be giving you some little facts and nuggets about writing here. And this is the first one. A formal tone is common in a professional or academic context, when the piece needs to be direct and thorough while maintaining a respectful feel. Formal pieces often include full words with no connotations or other shortened words. They do not include slang terms. It is grammatically correct and emphasizes facts rather than opinions. So as a content writer, this is going to be your bread and butter. Let's put copy to one side now first. But as a content writer, this is going to be your bread and butter. You are going to have to be able to understand the formal tone in when you're writing, because in a lot of situations, when you're given a piece of content to write, and, I think I'm going to provide you guys with some examples as well, but not for this class. But I'll bring along some examples of my own writing. I'll put together some examples of my own writing, maybe the next class. Yeah, maybe the next class. I'll bring some of the articles I've written myself, and I'll show you guys what I mean by formal. But for the essence of the class today, this is going to be your bread and butter. As a writer, you must be able to write in a formal tone. It's a professional tone. Here, there are no slangs. Like I was explaining, when you're writing SEO, what makes content search engine friendly, search engine optimized, search friendly. Let's use that word. What makes content search friendly is the formal tone. Look at this question. Look at this piece here. Formal pieces often include full words with no contractions. There's no contradictions about what you're writing now. There's no shortened words. There's no slangs. It's correct and it's based in facts. Now, I remember explaining to you guys that as content writers, you have to research properly. And this is the key to it. When you are researching content, you have to be factual. You can't write a lie, because if you write a lie, then somebody that is reading it will be able to identify that this is a lie. Like I said, we all have the internet. If I read 1 or 2 or 3 different articles, and I find that 2 out of the 3 or 4 or 3 out of 4 are kind of correct, why is this person going in another direction? Then you've not researched properly. Sometimes when you're writing a formal article, you're writing, you must have your research done. And then sometimes you can give both sides of the arguments. You can give to both sides. If they say, oh, this is better than this, sometimes you give the audience, the people, your readers, both sides, so that they can understand on each side how one plays off of the other. I'm rambling at this point, but that's what I'm saying. So writing formally also means going straight to the point. You see, a formal tone is common in a professional academic context when the piece needs to be direct. It has to be direct and through direct and thorough, while maintaining a respectful feel. When you're writing a formal article, like if you're in a newsroom or a news house, you're working at the Guardian now. If you're writing a piece that is not an opinion piece, you're providing the news, you must not be as to one side. When you write, you can't be for one side or the other. You must just provide the facts as they are. And you can't, like I said, use slangs. So here's an example of formal writing. According to the data presented, the yellow tree frog mates between April and June. Finish. Now, when I talked about syntax, I explained that syntax and word choice, they go hand in hand. And when you're writing formally, you must. It's a must. Everything has to be straightforward. There can't be extra gist. We don't need to know where the frog mates, except that is what is required. But when they ask, okay, when do these frogs mate? It is between April and June. Don't come and try and spice it up. We'll get to where you can spice it up. But formal writing, the reason I'm heavily staking on this first one is because it's one of the most important ones. Because you, as a content writer, you'll be given different forms of content, and at times you can't put your opinion there, especially when you're just starting. Nobody really wants to know your opinion until you have a very strong base, or until you have a very strong voice. People know you. That's why when you go through the newspapers, you see very prominent editors or very prominent writers who have their opinion section where they can now put their own personal influences on it. But as a content writer, when you start, before grow in authority, you will need to just be very formal, present the facts. Don't let your own personal feelings in the case. That's why I use politics as a good example, because politics is something that will pull everybody every which way. So, you must stay on topic. I think I've laid enough emphasis on this. Let's move to the next one. There's a few to go. So, 2, informal. Informal is the opposite tone to formal and sounds more conversational. Some people write in the same way they speak to a friend. Some may write in a way they feel most comfortable with. In an informal piece, this is where you are allowed to, put slangs. It can be in dialogue. I think informal writing is the best case for dialogue when you are writing a conversation between 2 or 3 people. That informal tone, your ability to create slangs. Most slangs were created from books. Somebody read the slang and was like, oh, okay. I'm not saying that your opinion doesn't matter. As a beginner, your opinion will matter. Your opinion always matters. You have to stand for something, but I kind of would like you to be able to separate your opinion from what are the facts, especially when you're beginning. When you grow as a writer, there is more time, more people will be asking for your opinion on things. But sometimes I think the key thing is you should be able to separate your feelings from facts. So as I was saying, for an informal tone, this is where you can write dialogue when you're talking about different people, right? You're talking, maybe you're writing about friends in a conversation. That's when you can be informal. Pieces written in an informal tone may include colloquialisms, that's slangs, broken, pidgin, shortened words, those kinds of things. The author of an informal piece may also convey more emotion and personal opinions in a piece. Okay, so here's a very good example. Hey, what's up? I'm calling to see if you wanted to catch a flick tonight with me and my buddies. If it was a formal invitation now that you're inviting somebody to come, you say, hello, how are you doing? I just called to know if you would want to watch a movie with me and my friends tonight. There's no slang, there's no fluff. Sometimes you can even say, hello, good day. I'm sending this invitation to know if you join us for a movie night by 7 p.m. at so and so. Formal. Now we're talking about tones. Your tone, the word content, all of these things, they stick together. So if you're writing an informal piece, your word choice can also be more flexible. This is why I said there are things like slangs, phrases, colloquial terms. Another thing you should note as a writer, and this was something I fell prey to when I started, especially if you're writing for foreign clients. If you don't have a great understanding of foreign terms in their country, it is best to keep it to the general, especially when you're writing formally. Don't come and include slangs that come from Nigeria. They will not understand. But if you're writing an informal article or an informal piece, and it is based in Nigeria, you can put as much slang as you want. Then it depends on where the article is going to. That's why we now talked about context and purpose. Yes, word choice is more for formal, but that doesn't mean you should now not get the spelling. No. Somebody put word choice is more for formal. Yes, it is, but please, you should always get your. That's why we're going to grammar and punctuation. But your spellings must be correct. But like I was saying, that's for informal. You can have your own personal thoughts, put your own informal, emotions, options, opinions, have fun with it. But of course, you will know when it is informal. The topic will tell you whether it's formal or informal. If you're writing a copy between offices, you want to make sure that this office understands what's going on the other end. If you're head of communications, you see this thing, as a writer, there's a lot of job opportunities for you. So if you're head of communications for a company and you're writing a press release, know that it is formal. If you are sending a newsletter can switch between formal and informal, right? If you are writing a newsletter, you can start with a very formal starting. I don't like starting my newsletters formally because it may not catch people's attention, especially when they are going through their emails. So you can start informally. You can say, hey, what's up? How you doing? There's this one there's this newsletter I read yesterday from Workaholic. I think it was Workaholic. They said how to raise your boss. How to raise your boss to get a pay raise. Did you see that? When I saw it, I went to go and read it because they've caught my attention. Then they can give you formal things and give you some nuggets, and they can give you some very good information about how to, talk to your boss the right way. But that beginning, when they say how to raise your boss, my G, why I no go watch them? Why I no go read them? See me, I'm speaking pidgin now. This is not an informal section. Let's continue. I hope everybody is understanding and following. Number 3, assertive. So sometimes when you are writing, things can overlap. When you're writing in an assertive form, some people assume that an assertive tone is the same as an aggressive tone, but they do differ. An assertive tone conveys authority, confidence, while an aggressive tone comes across more angry and harsh. So when you are assertive, you have authority. Remember, when I told you guys that you write, when you write with authority, that means you fully research this thing. When somebody tries to mock you up or try to when you're writing, when you write something, if you have a full understanding of it, remember that jollof example. If you have a full understanding of it, no matter how they twist it, you that knows what you wrote and you have the facts, you can be assertive with it, right? You can be assertive with what you're writing. So when writing assertively, an author will often straightforwardly present things with little to no room for argument. You will tell them as it is. When you write with authority, like I said, you have all the research and all the information behind you. So nobody is going to come and be shifting and dodging you around, right? Good. So let's use an example now. As she spoke, her conviction was unshakable, and those listening felt moved to join the committee and make changes in their community. This is a very important piece here. When you're writing assertively, you're trying to assert your dominance in the situation. And in that situation, you elicit a reaction, you elicit a kind of emotion. So here, when they said she spoke with so much conviction, her thought process was unshakable, it made people move. It made people take action. Now, you can be assertive without being aggressive. Now, I'll give you a good example. When you're a boss, the true sign of a good boss is not that the people below him fear him or her. You can't lead with fear forever, because when the people fear you, if they find something else they fear more than you, you're out of the case. But when you have this assertive nature, you are courageous, you are bold, a good boss will fight for his employees when something is going wrong. Somebody that is aggressive and only wants to rule through fear will sell them down the river and fight for his own self. Do you get? So in this case, assertion is you showing your confidence. You see, the word comes across authority. You can't have authority if you're not confident. If you're not confident and you have insecurities, you'll be more aggressive. You will lash out. You get? So in your writing, there's a time to be aggressive. In a debate, when the person is pushing forward their assertions on you, you can use aggression to shake them a little bit before going back with being assertive. Let's understand the difference between aggression and assertiveness, right? Because you may come today and be writing about debates now. It is also possible. So you never know where you end up. Let's continue. Informative. An informative tone seeks to inform the reader about a particular topic or subject. An informative tone seeks to inform the reader about a particular topic or subject. Educational materials often feature an informative tone. An example, the human brain contains millions of cells, all working to handle various functions performed by the human body. C'est fini. No other English involved, no other English required. You can also be entertaining. Now, an entertaining tone seeks to help the reader enjoy the material. It might be humorous, you can make the readers laugh, or it might be simply light-hearted and enjoyable. Example, I didn't write this example. Please bear with me, this joke is not mine. Knock, knock, who is there? Noble, noble who? No bell. That's why I knocked on you. Oh my God. It's not supposed to be funny, but somehow it's funny. That's by the wayside. But yes, that piece entertained me, funny. But like I said, we've explained informative. Informative seeks to pass information along, which is why they must be facts. You see, some tones are different from others, but they lean into each other. If you're writing an informative piece, you're trying to tell people certain news. If you're trying to tell some people about the news must be informative, it must be assertive, and it must be formal. There are no jokes except there's a semi-formality about it. Again, if there is calls for jokes, there will be calls for jokes. If your editor is reading your work and says, this is too bland, then maybe you might need jokes. Maybe you might need jokes. But especially when you are talking about things that may persuade customers one way or the other, I think it's also important that you provide them with all the necessary information they want. Like if you're trying to influence somebody's buying decision, whether they want to buy something or not, depends on the amount of information they have. So let's give an example. If you write a review for a product, right, and you misinterpret the information, you don't give the full view of it. When somebody buys and they find out that's not exactly what it was supposed to be, you've embellished it a little, you've put some garnish on top of that rice, the person won't come back to buy and they rather tell other people. There's nothing faster than word of mouth. And if somebody drags you online for writing a lie, as a writer, your credibility is gone. So let's, take time and focus on what we're writing. It's important that we have facts when you're writing informative piece. When you're writing entertainment, you can joke, you can lie, just for the gag, for the joke. It's important that people enjoy what they are reading, right? You can have multiple tones even in one article. Here's a good example. You can write a joke about something, how will I put it? You can write a joke about a piece of tech you use. Let's use like a phone now. The phone is not the best, but you don't want to outrightly say it's not the best. So you use a joke to say, the camera is good, but if it takes your picture and you see moon where there is sun, that kind of thing. I'm not a comedian, so let's leave that one out. But you can use levity to cut intensity. All right, next one, cooperative. So you often see cooperative tones in materials written for the workplace, expressing the need for mutual participation as a team or group. Towards a shared goal. Now, a cooperative tone often includes positive and collaborative elements, along with phrases that indicate the desire to work together. If you've worked in some companies where I have, and they pass a group memo for group activities, the way they will use some grammar to sweeten it up, all they are telling you people is you people should come and attend HR's explanation on workplace, whatever. It is, how will I use this? It is imperative that you people follow along. There will be some grammar that they use. So those kind of things, you want to get everybody going in the same direction. So you can't use words that will otherwise shift people against. You want everybody for. So here's a good example. After I present my plan for the new project, I would love to hear your thoughts, and we'll open the meeting up to sharing by everyone on the team. That's a simple example. You write that. This anybody that works in HR, this is where you'll be using your style. So if your HR in wherever you're working is not very sharp with the wordplay, you can also pitch in and help. So this is a very good example of what it is to just say, after I present my plan for the new project, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts. You're opening it up to the community, but to keep everybody together. Do you get what I'm saying? So for cooperative discussions, everybody must just be along the same lines. Let's continue. Curious. A curious tone reflects that the author or character wants to learn more about a particular topic or situation. Other than that, the reader will continue to uncover important details. So curiosity. When you want to pick somebody's interest, you don't let everything out. That's why they say keep some secrets to yourself. Someone might write with a curious tone if they are trying to uncover a new information or describe a young child who is learning more about the world around them. Using this tone can keep a reader intrigued as they continue to read the piece. Here's a good example. He continued to ask questions as we drove to school, wondering about the color of the sky, why the birds were flying in a V-shaped pattern, and whether I would be there to pick him up after his nap. So this is a kind of a good example, but let me give you guys another example. He stayed up staring into the night sky as he pondered his existence in reality and pondered the relationship he laid bare and pondered his decision, his heart he laid bare. Now, I've not told you guys what's going on fully. I've used a lot of big words, but I've intrigued you. He laid bare his heart. That means, he's left his heart open to this woman, but he's unsure of the reaction he's going to get. So he's up late at night staring into the sky. For anybody that got that piece, that one was off the top of my head. People will not see that one now. Anyways, let's continue. We're about to finish with this last piece. We've talked about tones. So the final tone that we're going to cover today is uplifting. An uplifting tone seeks to convey a supportive and motivational feel. So remember what I said. You can have several tones intertwining into one article. Sometimes one tone sounds exactly like the same. So an uplifting tone now seeks to convey a supportive and motivating feel. Most of the time, cooperative, we talked about cooperative. So cooperative discussions will have an uplifting tone, right? Now, providing reassurance to the reader that they can overcome challenging situations or take steps in their journey. If you're writing to keep people's mental health stable, you'll be writing uplifting articles. It's important that we write uplifting things because we don't know who is reading and in what state they are in. So it's not every time you should be in deep introspective thoughts. You should not always be deep in your feelings when you're writing. Sometimes it should be bubbling, bubbling work. It's important too. So using an uplifting tone is common among self-help authors or motivational speakers. Again, there's so many avenues as a writer that you can find yourself in. As a motivational speaker, you might be the one writing the speech. So here's a very good dichotomy that I'll give you guys as an example. Some motivational speakers don't write their speeches. Someone else will sit back, a ghostwriter, and write the speech for them. And then the motivational speaker will present it. Why is this like this? Because sometimes, as a writer, you might not be able to express. I know most writers they are not the most vocal people. They are not the most talkative people. They are shy. Sometimes they're introspective. They're not like me. Yeah, I'm a very weird individual. But like I said, a good number of writers I know are very introspective. So they can write very impressive copy or writing that can get people off their feet. But to present it doesn't connect the same way. That's nothing on them. It's just the way some people are wired. Some people are more introspective. Some people are more outgoing. So there are people that will write for the outgoing people. Hence why a motivational speaker might not necessarily write his own speech. Okay, here's an example. Jason knew that the first day being back at school in his new wheelchair would be difficult, but he remembered his mother's advice to go through the day with a smile on his face. Very simple, very uplifting. When you're writing uplifting work, it's important to have the person reading put it happy. Even if they're not happy, just changing the person's mood. Remember, tone and mood and feelings and emotion, they all tie together. So before we go on our break, I'm going to give you guys a bit of some small nuggets that I was talking about. Then we move to the next section and then question and answers. You people are just so funny. All right, so as I was saying, one thing I learned the most through my experience as a writer is a formal tone is very important. Why? Because you never know where or who you're writing for. Your ability to just to the point. Just get to the point. It's very important, especially when you're writing search. So when you're writing SEO content, it's very important that you get to the point quick. Because remember, as I explained, when you're writing, imagine you're writing for somebody in primary 5. They understand a lot of things, but their attention span is very small. So you must be able to get to the point, especially with search, because when somebody is searching for something, they are looking for the answer. So when I'm looking for the answer to something, I don't want to be dwelling on all the extra things. Do you get me? You just want to say, what is the size of a what's the power outage of this Samsung charger? And if I start seeing first the Samsung charger is light blue, is bedazzled, is very strong, I'm going to somewhere else, that person is not answering my question immediately. So why informal writing is important? Because it gets straight to the point. So as a writer, you will tie between different sections of writing, especially different tones. If you're taking a sad tone, you may want your writers to be, what is the word now? You may want your audience to be sad. So when you're writing in a sad tone, it's important to use words that will make your audience think inward. A lot of the things that make people sad most of the time is from within. Mistakes, regrets. So this is a key. When you want people to be sad, just make them think inward about things that have gotten them sad. It will elicit the right emotion. All right, so thank you very much. We're going to go into the second section, but you guys should remember to take attendance. If you have any questions, jot them down. We're about to go on a break. You guys should just, prepare your questions for our question and answer section. And yes, remember to take your attendance. The attendance is going to be provided for you guys. Attendance is very important. So with that, I think we can go on a break now. Sorry, we're about to go on the break. So like I said, it's important, understand what's going on. Take this time now, focus yourself, sit on what we've learned already, and then get ready for the next section, because now we're going to talk about grammar and punctuation. This section is going to be quick because there are some key things that we will all learn now that we cut our time in half. But I'll give you the fundamentals of grammar and punctuation. Then we'll talk about something else, and then we'll get to the end. All right. Thank you, guys. We're still coming back, so it's not the end of the class. I beg you. You should remember that one. We're still coming. If you know anybody that hasn't joined the class, you can also send them a message and say, hey, why aren't you joining? There's a lot of knowledge that is coming here that you won't get anywhere. Can you imagine? You won't say anything. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in.
Have you ever read all our social media platforms?
And we are back. So just before we quickly go to our next section, I hope everybody has taken their attendance. The link for attendance is still there. So please take attendance. It's very important. You want to know who is coming to class and who is following. Second, the LMS platform. That's our learning platform. There will be quizzes there. There will be questions that will go there. So people must, I will give you an assignment. No worry. I'm not threatening anybody. But there will be assignments on that platform. So you have to follow along and study up with it. It's the platform that all other information is going to go to. So I'm sure you guys received an email saying that it's coming, learning LMS, coming from the Incubator Hub or from Canva. Is it Canvas? Canvas, I think. So follow up with your emails. Make sure that all of you register to the LMS platform, because that's where you'll be submitting your assignments and taking quizzes and tests. If the link is not working, copy it, paste it in another browser. We are about to kick off the next section. So let's begin, guys. Please, again, if the link is not working, copy it, paste it on another browser. We'll still take attendance during the question and answer section. So we're about to start the class. The link should be working now. So we're about to start the class. So let's begin. Let's continue. All right. So for the next topic we're talking about grammar and punctuation and why it is important. Because grammar and punctuation is very, very important. It's very, very important. Remember that joke I gave you? There's a difference between let's eat dad and let's eat dad. That's the best and most poignant example we can use for grammar and punctuation. It's very important. Very, very important. So can everybody see my slides? Can everybody see the slides that are up? Good. So quickly, let's just look at this example of uplifting. Okay, no, this is it. We've gone through this. He wheeled himself into school only to find that his friends and fellow students were happy to. You will miss, the people will miss when they are writing. You won't even believe it. All right. So you put a lot of thought and effort into what you want to write. And grammar and punctuation allow you to express those ideas in standardized communication that readers will understand. Hello, is everybody following me? This work that we are doing as writers, for you to call yourself a writer, you must, put this thing into context for your people. You must put it in ways that they will understand. No matter how good the writing, no matter how many words you want to use, no matter how complex or how sweet the English is, if there's no right punctuation where it's supposed to be, nobody will read what you're writing because they won't understand it. Commas help break words apart. Commas help break a sentence into a way that it isn't just flowing once. Are we understanding? Now, everybody, I want you to understand from this class that while knowing all of these things is important, and you can read this material back to front, cover to cover, but you won't fully understand the need for different punctuations if you don't actually read articles, read books, your favorite writers, follow their pattern. Why did he put this punctuation here? Why did he put this comma here? That's the way you read to understand, by asking why. To develop yourself as a writer, you must ask why when you are reading. Why did he use this word? Why did he use this instead of this? Why did he put this here? Then you go and do your own quick research. Okay, this is this, right? Why did I use inverted commas instead of hyphen? Why did I use a dash instead of a comma? All of these things are important because they give your writing, they punch up your writing and make your writing outstanding. This is the part that is the outstanding part of the writer. No matter how you want to put your words together, if there is not the right punctuations, if there's no full stop to tell this is the end of it, somebody will not understand where the next point goes and where the next starts from. All right, let's continue. How can I improve my grammar and punctuation? One of the easiest, most effective ways, I've just said, is sometimes like I'm chasing my shadow. One of the easiest, most effective, and most enjoyable ways to improve your use of grammar and punctuation is to read. Readers are leaders. As a writer, if you don't read, just don't write first. Anything you do, anything you pick from today's class, don't write first. Go and read. Read. Enjoy reading. Even if you're not a bookworm, you can start with articles. How I developed my own reading habit was one article a day. And then I picked a topic that I enjoyed. So you guys already know me. I love football. I've talked that one to death from beginning to end. But that's how I started. I started reading articles about football. So when I read articles about football, I read one article a day. Before I knew it, it's 2 articles a day because I'm enjoying what I'm reading, you know. So that's a very good way to learn how to work as an article writer. When you're writing articles, the best way to get it is to start reading other people's articles. Then you follow how that author wrote his own thing. So when you read it, you follow their pattern. This is now what we're talking about with style. Every writer has their own style. So when you follow their style, you'll be able to identify why they use this word, why they put this punctuation here. There are general rules for punctuations. They are, comma must be here. This thing must be here. This thing must be here. But the word that precedes it, why you put this thing here, is also important. So where are these authors' commas? Where are they using punctuation to separate sentences, phrases, or ideas? Ideas. One of the most important things, and we're going to get to it at the end of the class. How are they formatting lists, quotations, or long sentences? Use the structures you see in your reading as models when you write. The more you read, the more you will be able to recognize and adopt effective use of grammar and punctuation. Laughing, safely, understand? That is it. Finally, it helps to learn effective proofreading strategies. Reading your essay out loud can help you identify awkward construction or places where you may need to revise your grammar. Reading your sentences in backwards order, that is, reading the last sentence of your essay, then the one before that, then the one before that, and so on. Reading backwards. So let me give you an example of reading backwards to identify. Let's look at it here. Let's look at it like this. Errors grammatical identify to individual sentences. Each on focus help you can just read it backwards from the last sentence going back. So like this, reading your sentences backwards, in backwards order, the last sentence of your essay, then the one before that, can help you focus on each sentence individually to identify grammatical errors. Finally, it helps to learn effective proofreading strategies. Reading your essay out loud can help you identify awkward construction. If any of you guys have been following with what I'm doing, sometimes when I'm reading something, I'll read it and then I'll do I'll stutter a little bit. Now, when you're following along with it, those breaks, those pauses that you have, allow you to figure out what is wrong with the sentence. Then you go back, then you revise, right? What is next? How can I remember to keep track of new structures or conventions I've learned? Now, simply practice writing with conventions and structures you're unfamiliar with or uncomfortable with. For example, if you don't know how to use a semicolon, research its convention and then start using it. Once you understand what this thing is for, use it. Taiwo, you dey try. I dey see your small notes there, just for everybody to follow along. But like I was saying, once you've learned how a semicolon functions, challenge yourself to use 3 in your next writing assignment. The best way to remember grammatical structures you've learned is to actively use them in your writing. So in punctuations, when you are learning the best ways to use punctuations, I think it is also important that you read from your best writers and then find out how to use a statement. Find out how to use those punctuations properly. If you don't learn anything from this class, one thing you should learn, just one, the one thing you should learn, right, is the best way to use punctuation is by reading and then practicing. As a writer, your second name should be researcher, because you must be able to research. When you research, the world is yours. So don't be afraid to say, if you have something you're writing, to stop and then go and do some writing. Go and do some writing. Just use it as your opportunity to figure things out. Experimentation, like I talked about yesterday, it's an important part of being a writer. So experiment with different styles and experiment with your punctuations. You know what a comma is used for? Use it several times. It's important. Now, we're about to come to the end of this class, but it would not be good of me to tell you all of this and not involve something that is very important. AI right now, no matter how we try and push it to one side, AI is a very important part of our lives now. It is here. You can't avoid it. As a writer, you should not be afraid of AI. AI is not coming to take your jobs. It's coming to make your job simple. Now, in as much as I've been telling you all, punctuation is important, and it is very important because we just explained. If you don't have punctuations in the right place, you just miss it. Do you get me? But they are useful pieces, useful tools. We'll still come back to them, but I have to list a few useful tools for you as a writer, because in all honesty, punctuation should be the last thing anybody, if you call yourself a writer, punctuation has to be the last thing. Punctuation is going to be the last thing that anybody will use to judge you. That should be the last thing. Nobody should be reading your work and saying, comma is supposed to be here, full stop is supposed to be here. As a writer, we didn't say you're an English teacher. Hear me out now. I didn't say you're an English teacher. Being a writer and a literature student and a thesis master of English, two different things. But I'm trying to tell you now, if I'm reading your work and I'm telling you, comma is supposed to be here, full stop is supposed to be here, especially when you're working with your editor, right? Somebody that is editing your work. If it's not you that is editing your work and you have somebody above you that is editing your work and going through it, it will be for you if they're having to identify commas. And this is not just for being a writer. This is for normal work. If you're a social media manager now, they shouldn't be checking for comma. They shouldn't be telling you there's supposed to be full stop here. These tools here are supposed to be your bread and butter because they make your life simple. Like I told you, AI is not here to take your job. It's here to make your life simple. So let's go through some of the AI tools that are here. We have Grammarly. We have ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the one everybody knows. Grammarly is the one that whichever office you go to, if you're doing work that requires writing, they tell you get Grammarly. Fine. But there are other tools. There's Quillbot. I know a lot of people know how to use Quillbot for paraphrasing, rephrasing. Is good too. But it also helps you check your grammar and punctuation. The way you write a sentence, if it doesn't feel good in your mouth, rephrase it. I'm telling you now, this is not secondary school. Nobody's going to say don't use AI. When you get to a work and they're telling you we don't want you to use AI, they don't want you to use AI to write it, because AI can be misleading. AI sometimes can write false statements. Fine, right? But on your own part, you should know, like, let's use ChatGPT for an example. ChatGPT can lie at times. It's not his fault. Ask you to pay 20. Sorry, somebody said, yes, there's a free ChatGPT and then there's a pro version. But there is use AI to help you make your work very useful. It helps you cut out grammatical blunders. I didn't say use AI to write it, but use AI to fine-tune your work. Don't be afraid of it. Experiment with AI. Remember what I was saying? Experimentation is important. Experiment with AI. The first time I saw ChatGPT, I was kind of afraid of it. I won't lie. You just heard something can write anything out of thin air. I was like, "Tom, my work don't finish with that." But after some time, I figured out that this thing is not perfect. And then it's not still, it doesn't have that human touch. No matter how they want to make it sound like it has human touch, it will not have human touch. But you can use it to fine-tune your work. So, like we're talking about with grammar and punctuation. Grammarly will check your grammar. Grammarly will check your punctuation. Copilot is also useful. Linguics is also useful. Yes, it's called hallucination. Yes, AI hallucinates sometimes to think something is real when it's not real. But don't be afraid of it. Like I said, utilize it, at least in its most basic form. For grammar, for checking of questions, all of these things, it's important that you have your AI tools at your disposal to just check at a moment's notice. It is very good to write along with, especially when you're typing. Figure out how to write along with it. Okay, let us. So before we get to our question and answer section, like I said, we get to around 8:30 question and answer section. Make sure you've written your questions down, because I'm here to answer your questions. Again, I'm here to answer questions, because the most important thing of learning is also having questions. In as much as I'll tell you to experiment, you should also think. It's important to think. Okay, so remember, take your attendance. Let me lay emphasis on the LMS platform. It's important that you go through the LMS platform. It's important that you go through the LMS platform. It came up on your email. Let's make sure to go through our Canvas. That's the LMS platform. That's what it's called, Canvas. Follow your emails. You should get emails from the Incubator Hub. It will let you guys know what you're supposed to do. They'll let you guys know how you're supposed to sign in, how you're supposed to sign up. Remember, again, take attendance. All right. Let us get on a. I need to take a quick break. I need 2 minutes. Just let me. I'm back. Sorry about that. Talk for long is not easy. All right, so we're going into our question and answer section. Let's get into that. And next slide is time for questions. So I'll go through you guys' questions, then we'll come to the end of the class. Well, before we do the questions, let me put your questions down now. Write everything down. But let's do a quick refresh on what we've learned, and then we'll come back for the questions. So, like we've talked about, let's start with grammar and punctuation. We've spoken about the importance of grammar and punctuation. Punctuation and grammar are tools writers use to communicate their ideas clearly to readers. Is what will make you understand somebody's writing. No matter how good the person's writing is, no matter the words they use, if there is no comma in the right place, the question will get out of hand. The statement will get out of hand. And what do I mean? If you're writing and you're trying to get across an idea, like I was going to say, no matter how good you are as a writer, if your ideas aren't passed across, if the information isn't getting across to the reader, there's no point in what you're writing. Remember in my last class, I told you guys, information, your use as a writer, how good you can be as a writer, depends on your ability to pass information across. In everything you're doing as a writer, you're doing it to pass information along, right? So if somebody can't understand what you're saying, let alone reader can't understand what you're writing, then there's a problem. So punctuations are there to help readers follow along. Some readers don't even understand all the punctuations you use. That's why we say don't use all the complex punctuations out there. But a simple comma here, a simple full stop there is very useful. I also explained to you guys that some of the best ways to improve your punctuation is to read. Now, I may have told you guys all about AI, but AI still can be wrong at times. So it's also important that you have an understanding of what punctuation is and the different kinds of punctuation and the use of grammar. Why? Because if it gets it wrong, even me at times, I'll find myself arguing with it. It's like, comma is not supposed to be here. Full stop is not supposed to be here. But if you just follow, back, just following along as the AI is going, it says put full stop here. Because sometimes AI will follow what you're writing, especially if you're using it in real time. If it's following along with what you're writing, it can make mistakes because it's trying to understand your full tone. So if you're just accepting whatever it tells you to put here, put there, your work will be disjointed. That's why it's also important that you have an understanding of punctuations. And for style is also very important in writing. So when you read a lot and follow how other writers use punctuations, if you construct a sentence the way they constructed it, it also goes to show that there will be commas in the right place, right? All right. Hey, Jesus. We've gotten to our question and answer section. Let me just quickly go over the different kinds of tones. Remember, we have there's more than 8 different kinds of tones. Permit me so that we will not make it will not miss. There are more than 8 different types of tones. I just gave you guys 8 so that you have a basic understanding and watch how they flow. Remember, every time I'm teaching you guys, I want you guys to see the through line. Follow it. There's a flow to it, right? So, for the different kinds of writing styles, we have informal, we have formal, we have informative, assertive, entertaining, cooperative, curious, and uplifting. There is more. There's aggressive, there is intense, there's tentative. There's a lot of them. But like I said, I want you guys to have a very good understanding. And then when you follow, you should also be able to branch out yourself. So as well, delve into all the different kinds of tones in writing. Go out, do some research. It's important. Do some research of yourself. Like I said, as a writer, your second name is researcher. So go out, do some research, find different types of tones that they write with, and then play with those different types of tones. Aside from what I've taught you here, check out different types of tones, experiment with them. If you can't mark attendance, don't worry. This is the space now. You can try, figure out what's going on. Like I said, you can copy the link and paste it somewhere else. Yes, the AI tools are all apps you can download. All right, let's go to the question and answer section, guys. It's very important that we do this. All right, your questions. When I use Grammarly's improve it feature, the words often change but remain in the same context. However, when I use an AI detector, it says my words are completely AI generated. What do you think? So AI detectors are up till today, they are very weird. Sometimes what it's tracking for using words that are being changed around is just tracking for the mere presence of AI in the metadata. So sometimes it's important that you go back and redo what you're working with. Remember, I think last week we did talk about plagiarism and AI content. If you're working with AI, don't let AI do the work for you. Let it fine-tune your work. It's important. Use prompts if you want to use AI as a writer. Prompts are used to train the AI to give you what you want. Yes, you just brought up a good point. It's another field that is developing, and as a writer, it should be where maybe you see to go into as well. It's prompt engineers. Prompt engineer essentially is just, the name implies, it's just something that you use, the people that know how to use AI best. And as a writer, how you can describe. There's so many times I've gone to AI and I've done half of the work for it because I've described everything for it. I just want it to now put back what I need from it. So as a prompt engineer, it's a skill, especially as a writer, where you're able to describe. Remember, your ability to describe is very key as a writer. Is it possible to combine one or two tones in the same writing? Yes, it is. It is very, very possible. It's very possible. Look at this. We have cooperative tones, we have informative tones, and we have uplifting tones. All of those things can be used interchangeably. Some of them feed into each other. Cooperative tone now is trying to get people working in the same direction. And how do you get people to work in the same direction if you're not uplifting them? For us to cooperate, we must also be in a good headspace. Do you get what I'm saying? If you don't understand, ask me another question. How can I get SEO gigs? So you can, we'll get into SEO questions. There's going to be topics for SEO, but in general, I'll tell you to just start developing yourself as a writer and showcasing what you're doing. It's important. It's very, very important. The attendance is no longer, don't worry, they are working on it. If it's not working, just copy and paste the link somewhere else. Copy the link, paste it in another browser. The difference between formal and cooperative tone. So, like I said, when you're writing in a formal tone, you're getting straight to the point. Now you're not expecting people to go in the same direction. You're expecting to provide information in a straightforward manner. So, as I explained, you can use formal writing in academic sense, official documents, press releases. You want everything to be formal. Formal documents don't have slang. Cooperative tone can have slang. You guys can have, if you're writing a cooperative, the link will be the link will be reopened soon. I think there's a problem with the link, but just follow along. Like I said, we have the whole remaining time to do our questions and answer, and then we also will get the attendance done. So there's no rush. So as I was saying, formal term, there's no slangs in it. It's straight to the point. Cooperative can beat around the bush a little bit. You can use office slangs. In some of the places I've worked, we use, it's not necessarily slang, but they're shorthands you've used within the office to explain certain things so that people within the office structure can understand. So you can use that there, but you can't use that in a formal situation. Do you get? If you don't understand, ask me again. Just ask me more questions. How can AI handy tools help me as a script writer? So I did include this here, but I have a friend who, I'm gonna ask for more information on it. But as a script writer, there's the AI tools. Let's use ChatGPT as an example. If you need ideas as a script writer, if you need ideas, fire it with ChatGPT. ChatGPT will give you ideas. ChatGPT is not going to write the whole script for you, and it's not really that good of a script writer. It will give you some dialogue, but the dialogue will be weird. It won't fit. But you can have a back and forth. If you don't have somebody to bounce ideas off, ChatGPT is a great way to bounce ideas back and forth. Also, punctuation is very important, and if you're not very conversant with punctuation at the moment, Grammarly will help you write a very good script because you put commas where commas need to be put, full stops where full stops need to be put, So when the person is reading the script, they are not confused. Are we on the same page? And again, to be a script writer, you have to study up different scripts. You have to read a lot because you need to understand the structure of sentences. You need to understand dialogue. Dialogue in scripts is a good chunk of it, because when you're writing a script, especially for maybe now it's not voiceover work. It is maybe a movie. In any movie you write, people will have conversations. One of the things I'm definitely going to get to do is writing a movie. I've not gotten there yet, but one day somebody will buy my script. Let's continue. Is it right to say that curious tone is the same as suspense? No. Curious tone and suspense, they are close, but if you're keeping your audience in suspense, they are waiting to see what comes next. Keeping them in a curious tone, they might not necessarily be waiting to see what comes next. They might be waiting inside the statement. They might be confused. Confused is not the right word. They want to know what you're talking about. So in suspense, I think the best way to put suspense would be suspense comes at the ending. Curiosity comes at the beginning. So I can pick your interest at the beginning, build it with curiosity, and then at the end, I'll build up the suspense to make a great reveal. Curiosity and suspense, they are close, but there's still some slight differences. Like I said, I think the best thing is suspense. Suspense also deals with delay. So curiosity, I can give you the question at the beginning to pique your interest. Okay, this is a good one. In a mystery novel, if you want to build suspense, you start with curiosity. You put a murder in front, and then you make it in a way that everybody was the one that could have committed the murder. And then you slowly remove each person one by one, building everybody's curiosity. So you build curiosity in each character. So each character is possible to have killed it. What are their motivations for trying to kill this person? You're building curiosity. And in the midst of building curiosity, you're creating suspense because, oh wow, anybody around us could have been the killer. We all heard that noise. So do you get what I'm saying? Anybody around you could have been the killer. That builds suspense. There's a unease around people. Suspense deals with unease. Very, very, very good question. I like that question. And also, I love writing down how I feel and I feel I really want to share it and start posting it. How can I go about? Go to Twitter. If you want to post how you feel, go to Twitter and just keep posting. Twitter loves consistency. If you just keep posting your random thoughts and feelings, eventually somebody will, reply. You can start a conversation from there. It's very important. You can also create a blog. We'll get into creating blogs, but a good way to create a blog is just to go to WordPress. Just Google WordPress, watch a video about creating blogs. It will also help you there. We'll still get into blog creation, so that's important too. You can do vlogging. That's a good one too. I think this is also part of something I want you guys to do. It's not an assignment. Okay, everybody, I need everybody to listen to me. It's not an assignment, but I want you all to, those of us, especially those of us that are very new to writing, start journaling. Your day, what you did, even if it's in the most basic terms, just take it as an opportunity to put down what happened that day. Write your feelings down. Is everybody following? It's not the assignment, but it is something that I want all of us to do. So anytime we have class, just look at your journal, go back, see how you started. In our next class, see where you're going to. So anybody that is interested, I think it's something you should do as a writer. Start a journal. Put your feelings, put your thoughts to help you practice without the intensity of having to feed an audience. Because when you start having people around you that are expecting content from you, it can build up on you. So I think it's good to start from a safe environment. Just start with journaling. How do I balance my tone when writing any kind of content? How do I find the right balance with grammar and punctuations and avoid an unfocused, disorganized content? Start with an outline before you write to avoid having disorganized content. Start with an outline. Start with the tone. Remember, we talked about context and purpose. So what is the purpose of what I'm writing? Who am I writing it for? Is it just for myself or is it for what's the audience? Outline it. Then when you know the audience, you know the kind of tone you want to use. You know the kind of words you want to use. Then as for punctuation, just put your AI there and be reading about other writers and punctuations will come. When you want to separate two ideas, you can put a comma. When you want to join two ideas together, you put a dash in the same sentence. You get me? Let's just, for those of us asking about attendance will be dropped. You will get the attendance. Please, sir, explain how a writer can use a blend of long and short sentences within different kinds of punctuations. Okay, so let's understand punctuations properly, right? So when you're using different kinds of punctuations, you can use different kinds of punctuations within the same sentence. But the moment you put a full stop, you have separated one sentence from the other. You can have a very long sentence and you can use a comma to show the idea. You know, you can talk about different ideas in the same sentence, but they must still be within the same theme. So if you're talking about why the moon is white, we all know the moon isn't white per se, but the reason why we can see it is because of the reflection of the sun. First idea. Then you can continue. Now, depending on where the moon is in relation to the sun, that is why we can see different sections of the moon come out in like the different phases of the moon. Full stop. We've had one long sentence, but we've explained two different ideas within it, or within the same thing. Is everybody getting? Is everybody following along? Okay. Please. Okay. What is next? Then, as for short sentence, you know, because it's a short sentence, so you're not going to be having too many punctuations. I think for any short sentence you're writing, maybe the most you have is a comma, full stop. You can have a semicolon. You can also put things in quotations if you want to lay emphasis on it, on a word. It's curious and suspense. They are similar. Like I said, I think the best way to put curiosity is at the beginning. Then in the middle, you can build up suspense with adding more curiosity. And then at the end, I think always at the end, suspense is always good for the end. If you want somebody to read up for a part 2, it's not about curiosity now. They've been left in a state of suspense. They don't know what is going to happen next. With curiosity, you can have an idea of what's going to happen next. Like I said, for those of us that haven't taken attendance, they were working on the link. The link will come very soon. I think something happened the way they posted it. So just observe some patience. Ask your questions now. Let's get these things going. When you said you use levity to cut intensity, what did you mean? Okay, so using levity to cut intensity is when you're talking about very serious matters. It's also important to use a joke. So I'll use one of my favorite comedians. His name is Trevor Noah. And sometimes when Trevor Noah is explaining the kind of poverty they lived in when he was during apartheid, for those of you that are from South Africa, you understand what I mean by apartheid. And for those of us that don't know what apartheid is, it was in South Africa, there was a divide. White and black people could not live together. They could not marry, they could not engage, they divided South Africa into the black side and the white side. So when Trevor Noah is explaining the poverty he lived in, it's a serious matter, but he uses a joke to undercut the seriousness, because sometimes you might not understand. It might be abstract to you. Let's assume let's use me as an example now. I might not be able to understand how serious the kind of life he was using. Okay, so it may cause a kind of I might not be able to attach to the way his life was, but with a joke, I can understand, because I'll laugh, then I can connect the dots. So using levity to cut intensity is just about, it might not be a joke. It might just be utilizing the word choice to soften the intensity of it. I hope I explained that properly for you. Is curious tone similar to rhetoric questions? You've asked a very important question there. Rhetoric. Well, rhetorical questions. Is that? I guess that's what you're talking about. Rhetorical questions. Well, curiosity is to inspire the person to think and ask questions. Rhetorical questions are just when you ask a rhetorical question, the person is already supposed to know the answer. So at times, the rhetorical question is less to make the person think and more just to poke fun at them, I guess. So, you can't use them interchangeably. That's the one I mean. You're using, like I said, using curiosity is about getting the audience to ask the question. Like when I write out an article to gauge the audience curiosity, I might ask them a question. Let's use, for example, the world is a beautiful place, but can't we also agree that the world is an ugly place as well? Can't beauty and ugliness exist in the same space? I hope you get what I'm saying. Those are the kinds of things that will imprint curiosity. A rhetorical question, on the other hand, will not want them to get the answer because you're supposed to expect that they already know the answer. It's rhetorical. There's no answer, or you should already know the answer. What writing tones do you recommend for interior designers? Patricia, I like that you're putting your business out there. Please, for those of us that are looking for their interiors design, just message Patricia. But yes, for an interior designer, using uplifting copy. Okay, this is a good question. Now, this is where we talk about copy in copywriting. As an interior designer, you might design a catalog and you want your customers to go through it. So you use uplifting terms, you use an uplifting tone, you use tones that pique curiosity, you use tones that are informal because you want the person to buy, you want to elicit a reaction. Sometimes you can be assertive so that the person believes you know what you're talking about. So if you say this marble countertop is good for XYZ reasons because it will fit in this kind of an environment, if their house doesn't fit to this type of thing, so you see why writing is so useful everywhere. If let's use the marble countertop. Now you've told them where a marble countertop fits. If their house doesn't fit to that idea, then your job as a writer as well, especially as a good copywriter, would be to link something that will now fit to their house idea. So if marble countertops fit with black and their house is white, you might say you want to get cold stone or pebble stone, marble tile, that kind of thing. You must also be able to point out the other option for them as a writer. Don't just leave them with no option. How do you get past writer's block? And also a good creative writer that has been out of the writing game for a while, how do you reconnect again and get your touch? This has happened to me a few times. It happens as a writer, you may lose your taste for it. Writing is a mental work. It requires you to think a lot, but you should be able to take an outside perspective. Sometimes don't put yourself on strain because you haven't written in a while. In the back of your mind, you should go and say, oh, okay, I understand. But every once in a while, you should, how will I put it? You should stay away from writing. Except when it's your job, then you must do your job. But if you have the luxury at times to pull away, review your old work. A good way to get inspiration is to read your old work, look through your old work, be impressed by it, but also look for where you made mistakes. Look for another avenue to go at it. So sometimes I do this. I'll go through some of my old content that I've written and look at an avenue or look at where I had a blind spot for it. So if I'm writing about my favorite player and I say, oh, he was so good, if I'm going back to that article, I can look for where he wasn't so good in the article, or where I embellished him a lot, made him look better than he is, and then go at it from a different angle. That can inspire creativity. Creativity comes in all forms. It comes from anywhere. If you're feeling uncreative, just take a walk. Don't think about it. Let it walk in the back of your mind. Sometimes a lot of the writing I do, sometimes I mull it over in the back of my mind. I'm not really thinking about it, but I am thinking about it, if you get what I mean. Yes, attendance is back, guys. Attendance is back. Attendance is back. So let's take attendance now. We are coming to the end of the class. Like joke. 9 o'clock has already met us here. Let's go through the questions. Please drop your questions now. I'm answering questions. An example of a double entendre. Woman without her. Woman without her, man is nothing. Woman without her, man is nothing. Yeah, Abike, this your point here is not pointing. A double entendre, that's one word with two meanings. These things, they don't even come immediately. Sometimes you have to be able to put yourself in that environment and just be writing. Sometimes it happens that I can't think of a double entendre off the top of my head. You guys, Google some good double entendres. It will come out. Can I write what I want and ask AI to fine tune it? Yeah, you can. I do that all the time. Sometimes I'll just splurge what is in my head, just pour it all out, and then start fine tuning it myself. When I feel like I've gotten to a point that I can't change it a bit, then I ask AI. It gives you a different perspective. Wow. Issues with the LMS platform, just give it a moment. Come again tomorrow. It should be working. Let me explain more about assertive tone. Well, okay. An assertive tone. We have already come to the end of the class, guys. Let me just quickly explain what an assertive tone is. An assertive tone is just you putting your authority in what you're writing and your convictions behind it. So as an authoritative writer, you should be well researched on what you're talking about so that you don't miss it, right? I hope everybody is following along. So that's what being an assertive writer is. It means putting your authority into it. It's about putting your authority into it and making sure that you are well versed in what you're talking about, because you can't be assertive when you're making mistakes. If they can poke holes in anything you're writing, then you're not assertive. Can someone remind me of the remaining tones apart from uplifting, informal, and formal? We have cooperative, we have we have cooperative, we have entertaining, we have informative. There is a good number of them. You can Google. Google will give you good answers as well. Before there was AI, there was Google. As a writer just starting, what can I write about? What is necessary to write every day? There's not a necessity to write every day, but I feel like as a writer just starting out, you can just write about things you like. Write about something you don't like. Try and elicit an aggressive or angry emotion from something. So write about like the weather. If you don't like cold weather, write about why you don't like cold weather. Just starting as a writer, writing different things will help. All right, guys. I think we've had a great time. I want to appreciate you guys all. You guys have been the best. Thank you so much for today. I'm going to see you guys on Thursday. It has been an incredible session with you guys. We're going to go into the final bit of this week's class on Thursday. It's going to be power packed. Let me even just come back and tell you that you guys are incredible. Really. I'm so happy to keep teaching you guys. You guys ask me questions that even get me thinking. So thank you so much, guys. Your questions have made me think as well. It has been a good one. I'm about to leave now. If I've not been able to answer your questions now, because you guys sent a lot of questions, but if I'm not able to answer your question now, just pen it down. On Thursday, I will answer them again. Thank you guys so much. You've been incredible. It has been a pleasure teaching you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I think we can call it a day now. Okay, yes, but before we leave, the LMS platform has been sent to your emails. Search for Canvas, search for the Incubator Hub. If you get a lot of emails, search for the Incubator Hub, check for the LMS message that they dropped for you. Remember, quizzes are going to come from the LMS platform. At the end of this class, this Thursday, I'll give you guys an assignment. No fear, it's not going to be a difficult one. But the learning platform is there for us to engage, learn, and improve. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It has been fun. I appreciate you guys. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphics designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new ground and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen right now.